Hey, welcome to another live Becoming a Cop, also part of the Police Applicant Podcast and policebackground.net family. With me tonight, man, I'm excited about tonight. Donovan Heavener's here,
I'm
and
so excited to be invited tonight, Ken.
Donovan is here. He normally doesn't do the lives because he's got a life outside of podcasting. But I asked Donovan, I haven't told Donovan the things that we're going to be talking about, so I'm going to interview him about tonight's thing about drugs and things like that. So, uh, Donovan, Donovan, for you haven't been on here, but this channel's been going on for I think we've been doing it 2 or 3 months, kind of trying to put some videos up and get people, and we've got quite a few subscribers. So tell them, the people that don't know you, all about you, what you do, what you've done, who you are, all that.
Man, that's a lot, Ken. Well, I was in law enforcement for 29 years. I retired at the end of 2023. During my time in law enforcement, the part that pertains back to this is either a collateral assignment or a full-time assignment. I've got about 20 years of background experience with several different departments. I've done backgrounds in Wisconsin, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and now Nevada. So I've been around a little bit. I've done backgrounds for private company as well, but I'm also a polygraph examiner. I got the training in 2023, and I've been doing pre-employment polygraphs for public safety agencies since then. So I've kind of got a little bit going on.
And you've got another gig that how you and I met.
Oh yeah. Oh, hold
Donovan,
on. What's my other gig?
you co-host.
Oh yeah, I'm the co-host on the Police Applicant podcast. Sorry, I forgot about that.
It's not important. It's not a big deal.
You put me on the
Um,
spot here. I didn't have my notes.
who am I? Who am I? So Donovan, when I get stuck on poly stuff, and I get stuck on every once in a while something comes up, and I got to call Donovan and go, "What's up with this?" And Donovan's been a background investigator for years, and he's current on a lot of stuff. In fact, he's still doing background investigations. I think you're on your third or fourth iteration of doing background somewhere.
Hmm.
In fact, you started the one of the police departments that you work for. You're boots on the ground when there was nobody hired, and you were doing backgrounds and stuff like that. So Donovan's got extensive experience in that. And so what I want to do before we get started, I want to talk about for a minute. Donovan has a book as well, and you can take a picture of the QR code, go straight to his website. Tell us about these two books that you have, Donovan.
So I've got a ebook, Mastering the Police Interview, which is basically a guide to help you prepare for oral boards in general. Obviously, we never know what all the questions are, but if you go through the book, kind of follow the stuff they lay out there, you're ready for any question that comes up in the oral board. And then, if you want, I do have a workbook that goes along with it. If you want to pay the extra money, where it's a fill-in guide, kind of gives you some prompts on how to start structuring questions or answers to questions as you're going through the whole process. So it's kind of a guide that goes hand in hand with the book. So
And also, whenever I get an email from people from policebackground.net about the oral interview, I send them to Donovan. It's not just the books, but you do one-on-one coaching. And everybody that I've talked to, that I've sent them to you, they've all aced their oral interviews. And so, if you want to just get the in-person consultation and coaching from Donovan, I would go and do, and they can do that for just get a hold of you at the website as well, right?
yep, they can go to prepforduty.com. It's prep the number 4 duty.com. And yeah, there's a whole section there on what I offer. And then if you are interested, I can send you off the link to get scheduled and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that's something you guys want to take advantage of. We get those. I get those about once every week or two. People are interested in that. And in fact, I just sent one to Donovan a couple days ago too.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
yeah, if you need help with your oral interview, which I don't think anybody does not, I suck at oral interviews, so I wish Donovan was around. Um, some 46 years ago, but he was not. Okay, so that's that. What I want to get going on tonight is I'm going to interview Donovan. He knows the subject, but he doesn't know the questions. So I'm going to hit you up, and then we're going to go on this, and we'll kind of jaw jack back and forth. We're gonna run through this. We're going to keep it about maybe 15 minutes or so,
Okay.
and then hopefully we can get the information out there. We're going to talk about drugs, and past drug use can be problematic, and times have changed since probably at least 2020. And sometimes I talk to Donovan. I go, you know what, man, I don't think this is going to work for you. And I call Donovan. And Donovan goes, yeah, times have changed. So, what's your take on that from 2020 to now?
Times have definitely changed. As a matter of fact, me and Ken had a conversation a couple nights ago where he was very blown away by the information I provided him on an
Yep.
agency and what they accept.
Yep.
But I mean, now, I mean, we have to start looking at a lot of states are legalizing marijuana.
Mhm.
So that changes things. There are some agencies that now say you need to be free and clear for a year. Some agencies are saying you need to be free and clear at the time of application. So it has changed. Timeframes that you need to be away from drugs in general have changed. Some agencies have lightened up on the psychedelic medications, where back in the day, most agencies that would just be an automatic disqualifier because there's studies out there that say we shouldn't be giving people guns if they've used
Mhm.
some sort of psychedelic drug because it can come back as a flashback. And last thing I want is an officer out in the middle of the field shooting pink elephants because he's having a flashback. But some agencies are saying they're willing to take that risk. So times have changed immensely. In 2020, it really changed. And we all know we can't beat around the bush. It is 100% because of the lack of numbers for recruiting and hiring and all that stuff. So,
Yeah. And marijuana, quick note on marijuana. In California, they took cannabis, marijuana off the PHS altogether. They can't even ask about that. And a lot of candidates who use marijuana, they go, man, you know what? I don't have to worry about. I smoke marijuana 1,000 times. I have a couple of friends that are police psychologists, and even though they don't ask you about it, the police
mm,
psychologists can ask you all day long. And they both told me, you know what? I have a problem with excessive use of marijuana.
right. Yeah. And that's something, when I went through the post training for background investigations in California, that's something that I learned. It was the midway point with the decision making. California had changed from marijuana to having to only say cannabis, and you could only ask the last time you used it. That was it. And now I know that they went to you can't ask at all. But they even preached at that point. This is an issue for medical and psychological, and the psychs can ask whatever they want. They make the determining factor as to whether it's a disqualifier or not. And in all honesty, I don't think that that's a bad route to go. I really don't. I don't think that's bad.
No, because I think medically speaking, it can do something to your brain if you really, really overused it. So I think that's good, but you're not out of the woods just because they don't ask about it or they're not making a big deal about it.
Right.
Um, Here's another thing that comes up. You can give me some insight on some of this too, because drug use used to be the I can't remember what the word I'm looking for, but the standards for drugs used to be like you can't get the standards for drugs. That was a holy grail for police background investigators. And now you can go today. You can go on some websites. They tell you right on the website you can't
Mhm.
use cocaine within 5 years. You can't use blah 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 and all this kind of stuff. And then some they just don't give out. They don't give out the drug standards. Is that
Right.
across the board? Is it loosening up more?
I think where you're seeing that departments are starting to post that more is the departments that are taking on the financial burden of paying for tests. Because agencies that use like National Testing Network, public safety testing, those testing companies that do nationwide testing, um, agencies are paying for that test, And those sites now will list what the automatic disqualifiers are and what the potential disqualifiers are. And I think that's more of a way for agencies to say, hey, look, if you don't meet these standards, don't test for us, so they're not paying for that test. Do people read those? I'm finding no. The agency I'm involved in, people don't read what we put out there regarding what some disqualifiers are. But agencies are putting it out the old school of keeping it hidden and then disqualifying people for the standards that no one knows about. Those are
Yeah.
kind of going out the door. You have some agencies still holding on to that, but most agencies now, from what I have seen, they're putting them out there because, again, I think it's that the paying for the test, but I think it's fair for the applicant now too, so that they're not wasting their time.
And sometimes there's a couple of things that sometimes candidates, I tell them, "Du- call the recruiter. Recruiters will sometimes tell you, or they'll say, yeah, that's not a problem, or they'll go, well, you have to apply. Um, but what's your take on calling a recruiter just to try and find out?
You can call a recruiter. Just remember, if they say, "Yeah, that's not a problem," don't remember their word isn't like a written contract. You have to understand a recruiter's job is to get, I always say, numbers in the door or butts in seats for testing. That's what their
Mhm.
main focus is. That's what their job is. The background investigators are kind of like the gatekeeper, and a lot of times those are two different positions. I mean, when I was with Federal Way Police Department, I did it all. So, I mean, I was giving out the right answers because I didn't want to waste time on people that I didn't need to. But a lot of agencies, you're going to see where the recruiters are different. They need to get numbers in. So, yeah, call the recruiter, talk to them, have a conversation with them. Just understand if you have a question, you're like, I don't really meet the standard. The recruiter said I do. That's not written in stone. So things could still happen there.
Yeah, don't get upset or worried if the recruiter isn't going to give you information or they're kind of vague
Mhm.
because they may not know what to say. They're not background investigators generally. So, um, potential problems: hard drugs, cocaine, LSD, meth, ecstasy, mushrooms,
Mhm.
heroin, NOS, and other things. Injectable drugs. Donovan, I've always known injectable drugs, no matter what. Steroids, heroin is a no-no. That's not going to fly.
Yeah, steroids. Agencies are loosening up on that. Again, the like ecstasy, the heroin, the LSD. Um, some agencies are still looking at that again because of those long term effects. Where like with the hero or the I'm sorry, the ecstasy and the LSD, that
Hmm.
actually stored in the fatty portions of your body and can come back up to haunt you later on down the road. They said like 20 years down the road, you can have flashbacks.
You're right.
And then same with mushrooms. But, I've seen a lot of people getting through with cocaine. If you have time and distance through heroin, man, I struggle with that, but I've seen agencies bringing people on who have time and distance. I'm on the fence on that one. I don't know. That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And that's a hard one to say that, hey, you don't have an addiction when you're bumping up to heroin.
Yeah, a lot of agencies, if it's injected into the vein, they got a problem with that. Also, you also mentioned flashbacks, drugs that have flashbacks, the hallucinogenics. Those are problematic for some agencies. Like you say, some may be loosening up, but hard drugs, and it's not. You can get away with one time, two times use in some, but I've talked to people who have multiple uses of multiple drugs. Is that
Right.
still like that's a tough one?
Well, we had that conversation, Ken. Most agencies, multiple use,
Yeah.
multiple drugs is usually a no go. That's difficult to get by. There are some agencies who have really, man, because I got people that work at those agencies that I just are fantastic people. I hate to say it, but there are some agencies who have really lowered the bar.
Yeah, that's true. It's not super common, but I'm telling you, recruitment's tough. It's a tough job right now, and trying to get people in the door, and they're kind of going, oh, okay.
Hmm.
You did cocaine and LSD and mushrooms. Oh, okay. It's not as bad as it used to be, but that's just when Donovan or I tell you it's dependent on the agency. That's the truth, because everybody nowadays, what they'll accept is across the board.
Right.
You can't really tell unless you know that agency. So, last question for you, Donovan. You're in high school. You got hurt on the football field or playing sports. Mom has some Vicodin in the cupboard. Mom gives it to you. Mom's a nurse. She says, "Here, this is fine." Your friend has some Adderall. You're in college. I needed to just do an all-night study thing. What do you think about those things?
Those are a conversation with the candidate. That's not a hard yes, hard no. That's a conversation. That's a sit down. Let's find out what's going on here. I mean, a kid in high school has some sort of injury, and mom or dad give them the Vicodin, the ibuprofen 800, Tylenol with codeine, that kind of stuff. I mean, a kid in high school, do I expect them to make the right decision on that? It's a prescription. They're thinking, okay, that's fine. Now someone who's in college and they're buying Adderall to stay up all night, that's a little bit different. And then if you're the kid with the Adderall and you're selling it, that's a whole different story. So there's varying degrees on this. That's a conversation with the background investigator. What you need to do is you need to be careful on this because I come from the polygraph side as well. Me and Ken will always tell you, if you lie, you die. And when it comes to the polygraph, if you're not going to be truthful in that, it's going to come up because that's part of that drug question about using prescription drugs that weren't prescribed to you. So just make sure you have that conversation. Understand that's not a killer, but that can cause you some problems.
Let me throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
You are over 18 and you had some extra Vicodin and your buddy got hurt and you gave it to him.
Now that, again, over 18, I'm an adult. I should know better. Again, that's part of that conversation. Why'd you do it? Was it an emergency situation? I have a hard time saying anything about an emergency situation in that you knew better. You knew you shouldn't give it, especially Vicodin. That's a controlled substance. So you might have a difficult time. Am I going to say that you're disqualified from every agency? Nowadays, I'm not saying that.
Yeah. And that's looked at differently. So you did good, Donovan. You answered all my questions.
I try, Ken. I try to impress you every time that we talk.
Again, guys, Donovan is co-hosting with me on the Police Applicant Podcast. He's got his own website, prep4duty.com. You can get his book on the interview process. And Donovan, I think that's going to be it. You have anything you want to add?
Oh, that's it. I feel honored to have been asked to be on one of these. Now I've seen you doing them and I'm like, man, Ken never asked me to come play. So I'm so excited that you asked me.
Well, now you heard it, guys. Donovan's going to be on here more with this stuff. And if you want to hear more good stuff, he's on the Police Applicant Podcast with me. We always have fun doing that. So if you have any questions for Donovan or myself, leave them in the comments after we get done here. And then we'll see you guys on the next episode.